During the ancient Roman Empire, many men wrote their names in the eternity of history, but one name still echoes century after century: Gaius Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was born on July 13th, 100 BC. As a child, Caesar already proved himself as an adventurer, as he was an active and good spirited boy. But at just 16, his life changed abruptly when his father passed away and Julius suddenly became the head of his family. Julius was the nephew of Gaius Marius, a great general and politician. He became famous for his military victories and for recognizing the model of Roman legions. In 84 BC, Julius married Cornelia, the daughter of an ally of Marius. Caesar and Cornelia had one child, a daughter named Julia. In 82 BC, Lucius Cornelius Sulla won the civil war and ordered Caesar to divorce Cornelia. Caesar refused and went into hiding. His family intervened and convinced Sulla to spare Caesar's life. However, Sulla stripped Caesar of his inheritance. Despite the reprieve, Caesar left Rome, joined the army, and earned the prestigious civic crown for his courage at the siege of Mytilene in 80 BC. After Sulla's death in 78 BC, Caesar returned to Rome and became a successful prosecutor widely known for his oratory skills. Caesar soon began his political career. He became military tribune and then quaestor of a Roman province in 69 BC. The same year, his wife Cornelia died. In 67 BC, he married Pompeia, a granddaughter of Sulla and relative of Pompey the Great, with whom he formed an important alliance. To cut the long story short, Caesar declared himself dictator for life in 44 BC. However, his crusade for absolute power didn't go over well with many Roman politicians. Fearing he would become a king, a group of senators conspired to end his life. On March 15, 44 BC, Julius Caesar was assassinated. Octavian, who was the governor of Macedonia, his mother came from a famous family and was the niece of Julius Caesar. Octavian grew up in the village of Velletri, not too far from Rome. His father died when he was just 4 years old. His mother remarried, but Octavian was sent to be raised by his grandmother, Julius Caesar's sister. Octavian was away from Rome when Caesar was killed, but he immediately returned upon hearing the news. He found out that he had been adopted by Caesar as his heir. Octavian began to gather political support in the Roman Senate as well as military support in the form of Caesar's legions. He soon was a formidable power in the city and was elected to the position of consul. At the same time, others were trying to fill the void of power left by Caesar's death. Mark Antony, a famous general and relative of Caesar, thought he should be dictator. He clashed with Octavian until they agreed to a truce. Together with a third powerful Roman named Lepidus, Octavian and Mark Antony formed the Second Triumvirate. This was an alliance where the three men shared supreme power in Rome. Eventually, the triumvirate began to battle each other for power. In many of these battles, Octavian's friend and general Marcus Agrippa led his troops into battle. First, Lepidus was defeated and his troops came over to the side of Octavian. Mark Antony allied himself with Queen Cleopatra of Egypt. At the Battle of Actium, Octavian's troops defeated Antony and Cleopatra's armies. Upon their defeat, Antony and Cleopatra committed suicide. The question now arises is, how did Rome fall? Well, Rome didn't fall in a day, but over the course of more than 100 years. It slowly decayed and was unable to defend its empire. It did not crumble because of one reason, but rather a combination of reasons that took a toll on the empire's military strength and its economy over a long period of time. The traditional argument for the fall of the Roman Empire relies on the barbarian tribe that had begun invading Roman lands in the 4th century AD. The Huns invaded from the east, pushing the Germanic tribes like the Goths and Visigoths into Roman territory. The Roman armies were unable to deal with mass migration of barbarian tribes into their lands. This is not the entire explanation, however. Rome was crumbling from within, not just from without. Severe corruption in the government as well as unstable leadership spelled disaster. A series of poor emperors led the empire to financial ruin. Some emperors were even assassinated in the chaos of civil war. Such an environment did not give the people hope in the government. Rapid military expansion and conquest was also expensive and depleted the empire's coffers. Wealthy citizens tried to get out of taxation. Eventually, the treasures of war and slaves dried up, and rapid inflation further weakened the economy. With such a lack of money, the empire was unable to field enough troops to protect its borders from barbarian incursions. One final factor dealt with religion. In the 1700s, the historian Edward Gibbon theorized that the spread of Christianity had also contributed to the fall of Rome. In the early days of Rome, the state religions celebrated Rome itself. The Roman gods symbolized civic virtue and the expectation of service and sacrifice in the name of Rome. Christianity spread a different set of virtues. Its followers were focused on the return of their Messiah and on preparing themselves for heaven after death. Many Christians questioned the emperor's divine status, and a belief in the glory of Rome gave way to a focus on the glory of God. Very simply, Christianity eroded the civic patriotism and loyalty that helped Rome grow and expand for centuries. This process was finalized when the Emperor Constantine made Christianity the official religion of Rome. Explanations in history are never monocausal. That is, there is never only one explanation for a historical event. Life is more complicated than that. It's important to understand that though some causes have more impact than others, that is, the barbarian invasions and taking of Rome, other causes can have a part too. Without corruption, financial difficulties, and a lack of civic virtue, Rome could have filled larger armies that could have possibly defended its borders and properly protected the empire. Deciding which causes are most important is what historians constantly debate as they seek to unravel the past to find lessons for the future.